Are you ready for some tea? Some wedding tea? Well, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Desiree here, and I'm so glad to see you. Allow me to sit this down. Well, I am back with another one of my real wedding, crazy wedding, dramatic stories. And yes, this really did happen. So let's go ahead and get started. This story I'm going to call Lights Knocked Out. Lights knocked out. You will never guess what happened in this story. And I have to say that this story is, it's got a spin on it that not even you would probably believe was about to take place. And yeah, I do hold this story dear to my heart. So let's go ahead and get started. Of course, I need to give you some background about the couple. This was another one of our multicultural weddings, but I will say this story happened about 8 or 9 years ago. And I also, when I speak about multicultural, this was one of the cultures that I was pretty unfamiliar with. I am an educator, and I used to teach a wedding and event planning certification course at a college. And I would speak about the different cultures for weddings and the different rituals and ceremonial components that would happen during many of these cultural weddings. And I spoke about this one in class in particular, but I never had the honor of actually being the planner for one of these weddings. So when the opportunity arose, I was very open with this family. I let them know, hey, I'm a Black woman, as you can see, and I am not familiar with the ceremonial details, the cultural aspects of your type of ceremony. I did share with them specifics that I knew just from being an educator, but I wanted this family to understand that I am definitely willing to learn, but you were going to have to instruct me, give me some direction so that I can make sure that you have the best wedding possible. The family was all on board and they appreciated my honesty. And next thing I knew, they signed the dotted line and paid that retainer. So let the planning process begin. I have to say, the planning went fairly smoothly. There were specifics that the bride was very much interested in. Oh, and I forgot to let you know, the groom's parents were paying for the rehearsal dinner and a couple of wedding vendors, but most of the financial contributions were coming from the bride's parents. And I will say they were actively involved, especially the mother of the bride, within this wedding planning process. Like I said, the planning went off fairly smoothly. They had some particular vendors that they wanted to hire. And of course, I was learning as I was going on this journey with them, specifics when it comes to the ceremony. So when it got time to work on the timeline and put everything together, I have a draft of the timeline. I sat down with the couple, I sat down with the mom as well, and she says, hey, Desiree, we need to make some changes. Sounds good. This wedding ceremony was going to have a lot of people who were going to be walking down the aisle. All right. And I was unfamiliar with many of these people. And I was specific when I said, are they coming to the wedding rehearsal? Because I need to make sure I know who is who, position them or seat them where they need to be seated so that we don't have any problems on wedding day. The mom was very open and honest. She says, hey, my best friend is flying in from the West Coast. She is willing to help you and your team on wedding day, dealing with the specifics when it comes to the ceremony. I was so appreciative. I was like, yes, thank you so much. That is what I needed. Because listen, I could follow the paperwork easy, all right? I got 2 eyes, actually 4 of them. I could follow the paperwork, no problem. My team, they're going to be versed on everything that is going on that day because we have meetings. I send them information, et cetera, et cetera. But I just wanted to make sure that this ceremony went off the way it was supposed to, okay? Because when I talk about the number of people that had to walk down the aisle, I'm speaking about candle lighters or people that are going to light the candles. I'm speaking about sponsors. I'm speaking about godparents. Then the wedding party that include bridesmaids and groomsmen, maid of honor, best men. There were flower girls. Then there were parents and aunties and all of these. There were grandparents. There were a million people who were going to be walking down the aisle. To be honest with you, there were about 30 32 pairs. The processional for this ceremony was probably going to take longer than the actual ceremony itself. When I tell you 32 pairs, okay? Yeah, they had to get all down the aisle, and I had to make sure, my team had to make sure that we knew who was who, line them up, make no mistakes. Oh, and because it was a cultural wedding, there were some challenges with the names, all right? So I knew that I was going to be coming into a crazy wedding rehearsal on this day, but the family respected me. I respected them. So I pretty much felt like everything was going to run smoothly. So let's go ahead and jump into rehearsal day. The rehearsal was on a Thursday evening, 2 days before the wedding ceremony. Meaning the ceremony was taking place on a Saturday, okay? The rehearsal was taking place on Thursday, all right? That meant that on Friday, I had time to do whatever needed to be done, tie up any loose ends, document, make changes to our paperwork based on what was discovered at the rehearsal, all of those things. So I had a buffer day in which I can get all of these things done. Rehearsal time. Pretty much everyone was on time, especially with it being on the north side of Chicago and some crazy traffic, all right? This was a summer wedding. So we get everybody lined up. I'm working and have met the best friend of the mom. The parents are there for the bride. The groom's parents are there. Grandparents, all the people who needed to be there were pretty much there. And I have to say they were punctual. Now, since there were so many things taking place within this ceremony, from processional to specific components and rituals within the ceremony itself to the exit, this rehearsal took almost 2 hours. Now, for anyone who has watched the wedding tea, y'all know my rehearsals are about an hour or less. This rehearsal was knocking on the door of 2 hours. But I was grateful for it. I was tired. I won't lie about that. I was tired. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. But it was truly a learning experience. And I have to say, being a planner, I love when I can learn something new. And when the family trusts me, that makes me feel good as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a wedding and event planner. I just felt good about it when I left this venue. So after the rehearsal, and I made sure everyone was good, I collected the remaining wedding inventory items, okay? Prior to the rehearsal, during some of our meetings, the couple would give me various inventory items for me to keep at my office to, of course, make sure that I had set up on wedding day. I was very comfortable with that. But they had some things that they needed to give me after the rehearsal, so all was well. We packed those things up in my vehicle. I left. I went on about my business. I sent the couple a message that night. I knew on Friday they were having their welcome party and some various things that they were going to be doing. Of course, prep for hair and all of those things. The guys were going to have a golf outing. I knew all of these activities were going to be taking place on Friday. I was not involved in any of that planning process, but I did send the couple a message because I liked them, okay? I sent them a message that says, hey, if you need me on Friday, you need a team member, you let me know. Just try to let me know as early as possible so that we can get to where you are, and I'll help in whatever capacity that I need to. They replied back. They were like, oh, Desiree, you've done so much. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. Have a good evening. So Friday rolls around, and remember, this is like our free day, free day. I didn't have to be with the couple. They didn't need the DE team, so I head on to the office. Here, I had to make some changes to the timeline. I needed to print our paperwork for the next day. And I also needed to gather the remaining wedding items that were in the office. My assistant is there. We're talking about the day, just kind of downloading all of the things that we need to think about, troubleshooting in advance. We load up my vehicle. I told her I will see you the next day. Now, for me, it was very important that I make it home by 3:15 because my daughter, yes, I have a daughter for those who are not familiar. At this time, she had just started her freshman year in high school. So this is a Friday. She had only been in high school for 1 week, all right? She was on the first week of high school, and I pride myself in this. I have to say this, and this is like a side note. Becoming a mom was the most amazing thing for me. It still is the most amazing experience. And I love my daughter with everything, every fiber in my body. And when I created this business, it was very, very important to me that I could be present in her life. And when I speak about present, I mean when it came to school activities, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a part of all of those activities. I wanted to make sure that even when she became a track star, that I didn't miss a track meet. And I have to say, I'm super proud when I tell you, she ran track for 4 years and I only ever missed 5 meets in 4 years. Yes, okay, pat on the back. But anyways, I'm saying all that to say is that it was very important for me to get home so that I could greet her on her, completed full week of her freshman year. So I'm heading home, all right? Everything is good. Couple is happy. The car is loaded with all of the wedding inventory. And when I speak about the wedding inventory, I'm talking about the place cards, the toasting flutes, the aisle runner, the guest favors, cake knife and server, the cake topper. Everything that this couple could give me and that they wanted in this wedding, I had it stuffed in my car. At this time, I had a 4-door sedan and the trunk was full, the back seat was full, and the passenger side was full of stuff. I also had all of the DE team's paperwork because I had to start early on Saturday morning. The wedding call time was 9 a.m. And then the ceremony was to take place at 11 a.m. And then there was a large gap between ceremony and reception. The reception was not to begin until 5. So this was going to be a very, very long day. So I pretty much had all of the DE team on board, but we were working in shifts. I was the first shift. And then I had my partner. She was going to be over at the venue handling the second shift, okay? So we got this all planned out. I'm not worried about it. I am heading home now. I am driving. I am listening to my music. I'm feeling good. And then all of a sudden. Tune in next week for some more wedding tea.